Am I enthusiastic about it going forward? I think we're all challenged, and it probably is an opportunity for us to actually engage very strongly now and see what can we do. I think over the years we've been zoning land without any activisation of that land, and people not even knowing that their land was actually zoned.
Which is hard to believe.
Well, you see, the policy does not actually. There's a kind of an issue. You have to be very careful that you're not actually in the hand of land developers that want to zone land, because it can be perceived that you're in the hand for financial gain, or the council or developers or all that. But ultimately I think that hasn't been a great policy either. But I think now with over 117 different landowners and developers have submitted to have their land zoned, as well as other lands that were moving forward in the review presently. I think it gives an opportunity to develop lands in areas. Look at, I suppose, the majority of those again are in the more larger communities and places where the development is taking place. I think the challenge for us all here is to actually spread the load across the county. I think what came up very clearly here today, and has been coming up in an awful lot of forums, is the parts of West and North and North East Clare where population decline and services like schools and shops and all that goes are under pressure, GA clubs and all that, and even you see the GA themselves taking it on to look at that issue. It clearly hits home where you have amalgamations and all that going forward. But I think today was a very positive day. It actually gave an outline of where we were. We've been ahead of the curve in our Killeen district. We've had a briefing already from Sinead, and we have an understanding, but I think it's important that the outside members of the SPC understand today where things are going forward. And I think it brings its challenges. We have to have positive discrimination to support villages and towns that have services in particular in the first place. We have a number of the government have invested over the years in upgrading of water and sewers in some villages, but we have no development of housing. And there's no more pertinent places like Scarf, Chumgraney, Fáil, places like that, Whitegate, and we still haven't housing development. So I think that's why, and I'm saying that in a local, we've equally similar back, Mullock, Quilty, all those investment in sewers and water, and you've right back, and then you have towns and villages that are stopped because they have no sewers. A village up to grade Kilkishen is a prime example, and back in West Clare other villages and towns haven't that upgrade. So there's a number of elements that have to be attacked here as well.
People can sometimes grow weary of hearing about new housing plans, and of course on a national level there have been several pushes in recent years to, I suppose, make it out that the government is taking a new approach when it comes to delivering housing, and ultimately the results aren't seen on the ground. Was there anything you heard here today that made you think that the council is taking this seriously and trying something new that is likely to succeed?
Well, look, I think the positive engagement with developers and encouraging developers to go into other towns and villages, and I suppose the news that Irish Water and Ishgairn have been engaging with the council in relation to that. We also heard last week from a briefing from Ishgairn ourselves that they are in favour of packaged plants as well for small settlements, and that might give some hope to some towns and villages. I am optimistic actually, and it's interesting that I at a national level and at a county level I'm feeling more direct attention being given to housing, and I think that's what's needed. I think direct attention. I do think we'll have to come with a carrot to help communities and help areas to encourage sites to come on board. I think the example of the Creek Unaha now in Listonvarna and Fáil will be an example of where the council provides services. Will it actually allow, will people want to live there as well? I think that's the type of stuff that we might be able to invest in. Maybe I would hope that we might invest in sites in areas and towns.
On the subject of affordability, today we heard Sinead O'Donoghue of Clare County Council say that the affordability crisis isn't felt most acutely in County Clare. Now I'm sure people who are looking to buy a home in County Clare would say that it is being felt very acutely and that there is a significant issue when it comes to affordability. What signs do we have that homes are to become more affordable in County Clare based on what you heard today?
Well, I question that statement. I think affordability, I think the people that we really want to help are our young people, the people that are, and particularly the people that are middle income. while there's a big emphasis on social housing and that element, there's an element of affordable housing. People get mixed up on that debate about affordable housing. So Shannon and Innes at the moment, I think the council and all are looking at other areas of the county for affordable housing. Now, affordable housing only meets a certain criteria. The bands are very low on that. If you're something between 60 to 75,000 is where your income limit has to fall into that category, and that leaves a lot of people from 60 down or from 70 up.
Stuck in the middle.
And I think I asked, and I've been pushing very much to expand the bands on that. I think in the end, what we need to do is affordable means houses that people can afford. Once you go over that element of over 350, 400,000, having a two-family working, it really puts pressure on people, and it brings the issues of childcare and all travel and transport and all comes into being. How can you afford to get to that level?
Corofin, Fianna Fáil Councillor Joe Killeen. This morning's meeting of the Rural Development SPC here in Oroscunday on Clare was very dominated by housing, and has to be said. We heard a presentation from Sinead O'Donoghue of the Housing Activation Directorate. You opened your first contribution with some very strong comments in relation to the housing emergency in Ireland, and you said that in 100 years it would be deemed a national scandal. You might just expand on that.
My feeling is that there's a huge lack of availability of housing in Ireland. We have a huge number of people who seek to own their own home, who get up, go to work, pay their taxes, contribute to community life. Their wish is that they would be able to afford to qualify for a mortgage, build their house, live in rural or urban Ireland, but have an opportunity to set up home and raise their children, support their local schools, their local GEA clubs, support their own local areas, and be able to afford or to be able to achieve a mortgage that they can afford to live, and enjoy their youth in middle age without being burdened with a huge mortgage. I think the difficulty is the cost of housing and the unaffordability of mortgages is a huge difficulty. I think it's caused in part by a lack of availability of housing, but maybe just in recent years, maybe since the Celtic Tiger, the provision of housing hasn't followed pace, it hasn't followed population increases, it's lagging behind all the time, and policies are just not being progressed that will increase housing availability. That's leading to increased price and unaffordability of housing for so many people.
You made particular mention of Uisce Éireann as well. Of course, we heard of the 52 unsured settlements in County Clare, but Uisce Éireann and the lack of wastewater connectivity also proving to be a significant challenge.
Yeah, 52 villages in County Clare do not have wastewater treatment systems. They will allow people to build houses in numbers that will be able to solve the housing crisis. I dealt very recently with a proposed housing development in Rowan, which was going for its planning permission on its third effort. It has been withdrawn because the availability of support from Irish Water to upgrade the wastewater treatment system hasn't been put in place, and the housing development hasn't been progressed.
And indeed zoning, another issue that you made mention of today, an issue where land has been zoned by the local authority but landowners haven't been properly liaised with. How do you solve a problem like that?
I think going back against the Celtic Tiger, we have a system in Ireland where land is zoned. It's a paper zoning. It's an exercise carried out, and has been carried out without consultation with those who actually own the land, the landowners. Most recently, actually just before Christmas, Clare County Council advertised an opportunity for landowners to express an interest in having their land developed. Thankfully, over 100 submissions, I think 117 submissions have been received by Clare County Council from those who are saying, yes, I would look at developing my land and making it available for housing. This is a variation of the county development plan, which is most welcome and which I call for all the time myself. These lands that are being developed are available for development will be on display, a public display in a week or two. We'll be there for 4 weeks. the public have an opportunity of seeing where these lands are available, and hopefully it's going to lead to greater supply of housing, more confidence from developers in coming forward to develop the houses, and an opportunity for people to get houses in their own local areas, their local towns and villages, and be able to build in their own areas.
I think it's very clear that with this new iteration of the Clare County Council Executive, there's an attempt to show that there's a new approach to housing, and indeed we're hearing the phrase housing activation, which I think is a relatively new phrase, at least at Clare County Council level. Do you have renewed hope when it comes to solving these challenges and perhaps getting rid of these bottlenecks?
I think in a lot of cases land is there, land is available for development, but there's a reluctance on behalf of those who are the landowners, there's a reluctance on behalf of the developers then to move in there as well. The Housing Activation Group will look at all the supporting mechanisms that can be put in place to support housing in a particular area. Is there wastewater? Is there land available? Is there an interest in having houses developed in that area? In other words, are there people there who will buy those houses? And negotiating or speaking to developers as well to say, look, we pinpointed there is a situation here where there are houses available, there are buyers available. It's an opportunity to develop these houses, and it can only lead to greater coordination of supports and lead to greater provision of housing in County Clare.
Finally, on this, Councillor Killeen, the lack of wastewater provision causing significant issues in rural areas was a dominant theme at today's meeting. Obviously, this is the Rural Development SPC, so there were discussions around how housing is a problem in rural areas, such as an area near your own home place, Ruan, where, as we're seeing, the lack of wastewater is causing delays in housing delivery.
Yeah, we heard today that there are 52 unsold towns and villages in County Clare. Obviously, developments of a number of houses in any one of those areas is a difficulty because planning permission cannot be achieved. In Rowan, the Toolmore wastewater treatment system is deemed close to capacity. That means that land, even though land is zoned in that area, that land cannot be developed until the Toolmore wastewater treatment system is upgraded, or until developer-led wastewater treatment systems are agreed between the housing bodies and Uisce Éireann, who will ultimately have to take responsibility when these are put into place. A recent development in Rowan is a prime example. It's been put in for planning on a number of occasions, still has not achieved planning because difficulties with wastewater. Even though it is supported by the people of the area, it is hugely needed by the area to support the local shop, support the local GA, support the local community. And highly welcomed, as I said, and still cannot progress because of wastewater difficulties.